We have
Jump past
a
it.
roll call, in-person people first, Richard Smith, present.
BJ Klein present.
Phyllis Goodson.
David Ingram present.
Val Jean Estes present.
Sean,
Sean Sullivan present.
thanks very much.
Do we have any discussion for June meeting minutes? No discussion. All right, meeting minutes are approved. Moving to item number 1, updates. Pass the torch over to David.
Yeah, just wanted to give you all update on a number of things that are in progress or that we're continuing to work on. First of those, we mentioned, I think at our last meeting in June that we had ordered or we had purchased and they were on site 2 Nissan Leads. So since that point,
Thank you.
I'm doing that just for you, Dave.
Thank
you. Since that point, we've been working to get charging infrastructure installed out at the operations center. We have a proposal that's in the process to a company that also does our fuel management software. So it's a vendor that's already in the system. They're looking to install Nissan or Tesla level 2 charging station there at the operations center. So right now the proposal is going through our purchasing department. Hopefully we can get that finalized and the work rolling within this next month. But interesting thing about the Tesla level 2 chargers, this vendor is actually working with Tesla to make the chargers OCCP compliant, which is open charging kind of source software, which typically Tesla just has their own software and that's what you get. But since they're already one of our vendors and utilizing their software, they've been working with Tesla to make sure that they can use their own software on those chargers. So that which apparently there's no other Tesla level 2 chargers in the country that do that. So it's kind of unique for here. So could be something pretty interesting to incorporate.
So these chargers, they're purely for the city's vehicle, those 2 vehicles? Or how are y'all monitoring that and ensuring it's only, we're not charging people's personal cars or people are coming to Public Works and charging their own stuff?
Well, we haven't installed them yet, so they're in the process.
But when they get done, like is there a process in place to do that?
This is a brand new territory for us, so signage, charging for city vehicles only. We've got signage out there that requires guests to check in with us prior to visiting any other location. So we got people with eyes on the parking lot all the time. They're right outside the front door.
After hours, it's a gated complex. So
Yeah, so we're open. We open at 5:30 a.m. and close at 5:30 p.m. I think, or 6 p.m. So there's not a whole lot of opportunity. If you want to come see us, you really got to want to come see us.
Yeah.
So,
I just didn't know if there was some incentive, like if people have their own vehicles, like is there a way to pay? They work there, was it cars?
we don't have that level of sophistication in our process yet. We're just trying to get our first 2 for our fleet and learn
Fleet of 2.
our fleet of 2, and learn from that.
most of our fleet vehicles are kind of sit more kind of behind whatever building that they're in. These ones will be kind of in a more publicly accessible area. As far as parking area. All the other ones are kind of. As far as our vehicles.
Yeah, unless the vehicles are in use, they'll be parked right in front of the chargers. They won't, unless you pull up beside it and stretch the cord, won't be much of an opportunity to do that.
So, yeah, that's it. Update on our charging infrastructure. Sure, we'll have them in by our September meeting, but keep y'all updated as far as when they're actually in and we're being able to actually utilize our vehicles. Update on the sustainable building policy presentation. Another one that's been going on for a while, and you guys are well aware of the policy. We're having a presentation this month to our executive management team on the policy for any questions, feedback they may have. After that, next step in the process is going to a city council agenda briefing. Following that, questions they may have that come up that we need to address. Next step from that would be presenting it at a full council meeting. Working its way through the process still. Any questions there? Thoughts, comments?
Is there any timeline after the executive management team gets eyes on it to move it to city council, the briefing stage?
To get it on the agenda briefing is not. It's not, I mean, that's a matter of, they hold those every 2 weeks. So it's just a matter of getting the feedback from the EMT, making sure that we're good to go as is, or if there's something we really have to. So
Is
we
the,
can probably get it on.
is the feedback from the EMT are they, I don't know if required is the right word, but is it typical that they give you the feedback immediately, or they say like, yeah, we'll get back to you, and then you may or may not hear from them for a while?
No, it'll be during,
Okay,
On the spot.
okay.
yeah. And then according to how we have to react. to
Sure,
what that
right.
feedback is, but
Right.
I can't see a whole lot of opportunity to push back other than how much more does it cost us? That's gonna be the question, in my view, so.
And just, FYI, even though it's not an official policy yet, we do kind of have two buildings. Well, one probably 2/3 of the way through construction, and another one in the planning stage still, which are both pursuing lead. Even though it's not an official policy yet. Sure. So. Skyline Center updates. I know at our last meeting, there were a few questions in regard to, what's currently going on with the energy use here in the building. We gave you an update on like the EUI, and that is kind of abnormally low right now because of building occupancy, but Dave and I had a kind of follow-up meeting with the facility manager here, and he gave us a little bit broader understanding of some of the things that they're addressing and some of the things they're running into as they are operating the building. And they are proceeding with an energy assessment, energy audit with Paracon. Vendor's going to be coming in and looking at. I think I provided you guys with the scope of services that they were going to be performing. That's still in the works. I'm not sure. I don't think he had a date yet for when that's supposed to happen, but he did also, provide us with some information in regard to some of the challenging areas that they're trying to address. So the building only has electric heat, particularly in the wintertime, so which are all located at the perimeter of the buildings. And energy load of the building was also taken into account, like the heat coming off of the existing fluorescent lamps. So one of the concerns about going to LED lighting that doesn't provide any additional heating to the building if you install LEDs. So is that electric heat that's only located at the perimeter buildings, is that going to present any problems by switching to LED? Because I think they already are having like cool spots from their experience over the last winter.
They're concerned that they are going to be removing too much heat load by switching to LEDs.
I think what he's saying is that the people with offices on the outside of the building are just fine. But everybody on the interior that doesn't have,
Yeah,
I
understand. So I mean, if you bought an $87 million building that people are relying on light bulbs for heat, this is a problem.
I'm just saying, he just brought it up as a concern.
Sure.
Not necessarily something that we're gonna
Well,
rely on, but
my response to him is that if he's concerned about that taking away their heat sources being the light bulbs, then he has bigger problems to deal with than it's like this, I don't know, PJ, chip in, like, cause we're in the same field, but like, to me,
Buy sweatshirts, city of Wilmington sweatshirts. There you go. I mean, it can't be that cold in the center of the building.
I mean,
I would
and,
expect it to be colder by the window.
and like fourth grade science tells us that heat rises, so like, if we have a 12-foot ceiling here, the light bulbs at the top of your ceiling are not shooting that heat down on the people. That heat is coming off those light bulbs and going upwards.
I don't
Go right
think
to that drop ceiling.
it was just one of the things that was brought up. I think one of the questions, I don't know, was.
I think they have a heating issue already, and they're saying, will this add to it?
This is a very weak yeah, but in my,
It wasn't a reason for not proceeding with. Moving forward with LEDs, it was just a concern.
Well, what you're gonna end up having, and you gotta be careful of, is if you do have a cooling issue today, regardless of LED lights or not. You're gonna have people who start bringing in their little personal heaters, and then you're gonna have a fire problem. On top of, you're gonna have people who leave space heaters on Friday afternoon, they forget about it, don't come back, if they run all
We do
weekend.
have a policy, I think, that
they.
Oh, we have policies too, but people still do it, right? Doesn't, there's no way to monitor it.
so the way the way that we quash that. Is that because the fire marshal, like he said, the fire marshal has a problem with space heaters. And the fire marshal will write tickets for space heaters. The way we quash that was if the fire marshal writes the building a ticket for a space heater, wherever it was located, that occupant is responsible for paying that ticket.
Our marshal's office is now in this building, so.
That's even.
Cool,
more-
have him make his rounds every morning.
But that's something that could be, you have an HVAC imbalance problem. Where I thought you were going with this originally was that you were gonna say, hey, they wanna go from electric heat to natural gas heat. And I was thinking from a greenhouse gas perspective, you're going the opposite way.
Yeah.
The grid's cleaner.
Is an analysis being done on physics of the circulation, because that's more of a circulation issue than anything else in my perspective.
Outside, because you're gonna have cooler temperatures in the windows,
Mhm.
unless you're getting direct sunlight.
So they need to get their hands on the test and balance report from when this building was opened. And if they don't have one, they should look into investing money into that, because that sounds like where the majority of their problems come from.
I would imagine Duke Energy, if it's not available, would be willing to extend a hand of assistance, since you can have an energy audit on your house done for free.
That should be on our agenda item number 2, when Pam said, which I didn't see on here. I know I mentioned it when we were, I know I'm not jumping ahead, but I didn't see anything here about Wilson coming too. I don't know if that was extended to him.
We're addressing that with, Pam asked to do that invitation, but we're.
We'll suggest that.
Cause he can help. He
Right.
can help with that stuff.
Well, he'll have all the details about what
Programs.
programs are available to us based on
Pam's
the
not gonna
rates
have
and
that.
riders. Yeah, Pam won't have that.
She's community relations.
What else from our discussion with Daryl? Anything?
Just that, yeah, that Terracon work is upcoming. Well, just, I guess. His comments on occupancy in the building, continuing to sign new leases.
That is a positive thing.
Yeah.
They're
Filling out the building.
Yeah.
the tenants that are being attracted are not necessarily, there's, I think. One of them prospectively might be a whole floor tenant. But a lot of the other ones are, it's just getting chopped up, so, which is still a good thing, but, you know, we're still, the occupancy is not where it needs to be yet, so.
What's the roof look like up there? It's got equipment or is it, yeah, pretty flat?
That's, yeah, that's where a lot of the HVAC equipment is on the roof.
has Daryl provided you feedback with what the condition of the HVAC equipment is like?
There's some equipment that is, getting under contract to be replaced right now. I don't know what that is, but, we didn't ask that question, hopefully specifically. But some of it's up for replacement.
How's the building management system? How are y'all integrating that with the occupants? Like, I don't know if they're. I guess they potentially could have different schedules than the city.
They do. Yeah, especially with Thermo in here right now, we work all kinds of hours.
A lot of his focus up front has been with the Crestron lighting control system. And he's kind of struggled to gain control of that, I think. But he's, were they switching that system? I can't remember where the conversation landed.
He's been trying to get it to work better. Trying to find, software that will
Yeah, that's right. He was struggling to get lights off at night.
basically like floors are basically on or off. There's not a whole lot of zone controlling what the light system should. That's right.
So obviously, like, this is like, we're asking you about what he's doing, so I understand it's like third party here, but from your understanding, he's prioritizing the lighting control system over his HVAC control system.
Wouldn't say that. Yeah,
He's working on both, but if you're outside and you see the city just bought this brand new building, you see the lights are on at night, that's what you're gonna be talking about. So there's exterior pressures to make sure that that system is functioning so that they get the lights off at night. It's not that he's not working on the HVAC system.
Just from a financial standpoint, that makes no sense. Like, I understand what you're saying from a PR standpoint, like, people don't see the air conditioning running, but from a financial standpoint, like, you're flushing money down the toilet worrying about the lights if the HVAC's not running.
I don't know, these lights.
Sure, I mean,
55s.
so a follow-up question I have is, I know when this building was originally purchased, like, they separated it to where this facility has its own building staff, its own team.
Its own separate
Yes.
budgeted
Right.
entity.
My question is that because of that, because that's separate from Public Works, is it separate from your sustainability purview? Like, do
No.
you still have,
We have the whole building, right? For sustainability?
Yeah.
Well, sustainability, our sustainability footprint covers the entire city organization. So,
We own this building, people are tenants. Thus, we own all the energy usage in this building.
right, because their lease pays for their utilities. There's no sub-meters, there's nothing to break down that cost.
has the city or this building manager, I mean, has he looked at the economics of adding sub-meters?
I don't think we've gotten to that point yet.
When you sub-meter electricity, you become a regulated entity.
Yeah, I don't know enough about that, but I mean, what if you do it just for documentation purposes? What if you're not charging it? It's different. I think a sub-meter is like a $100 install fee and like a $20 a month maintenance fee.
I think it depends on the wiring to see if you can properly sub-meter to have the space that you're talking about sub-metering accurate.
Yeah, I mean,
The
like,
wiring has to be redone to support what you're trying to
I
sub-meter.
mean, you may have an entire floor that's being leased out, that's fine, when you have a floor, it's got 5 or 6 tenants, I don't know how may not consider it that way.
Well, I think it's worth at least looking into, because even from a financial standpoint, like, how are you guys deciding what you're billing them for utilities? Like you said, the utilities are included in the rent, but I'm assuming you're factoring some cost of utility into what number you're giving them for the rent. So how are they determining that if you're not?
We could be losing money too.
Right, that's my
Building
point, is
management
like, you bill them $500 a month for electricity or whatever. They all bring in their space heaters and
Yeah,
plug
we-
them in, and they use $2,000 worth of electricity, and the taxpayers putting $1,500 worth of electricity for whoever the tenant is.
And it's just kind of like the elephant right now. You guys are taking one bite at a time, one step at a time, getting in there. You can't address everything immediately.
But it doesn't make any sense to me to sign tenants and have them in with contracts and everything else, and then start looking at like, well, how should we be charging them for their utility usage?
Well, who's
That's
doing the
something that should
leases?
be
Is that
figured.
Cape Fear Commercial or is it JLL? Somebody manages this building from a tenant perspective. It's not the city.
Yeah,
And
and
so they're probably.
we
using
have an
best
economic
practices.
development manager that is the one that's attracting the tenants. Whether or not he's going through a broker to get the lease done, or not, I'm not sure, but.
Yeah, I think I saw either JLL or it was Cape Fear Commercial, so they have best practices. I mean, it's. I hear what you're saying, probably not the best, it's probably not the exact number, but I'm sure they built in some profit
We
margin.
can follow up, see what.
Yeah.
They're calculating that.
I just know like tenants aren't gonna have any concern about what they're using if it's a fixed fee, right? Like, if we're paying, if electricity's included, I'm just gonna run it, run everything, because I'm not paying for it. So, and while I understand, like PJ said, we might not be able to like actually bill them for that, that should be taken into account. I mean, with that.
Yep.
I just don't want the taxpayers footing these guys' electricity bills, is where I'm at with it.
Well, yeah, that's what we strive for, energy efficiency in all of our facilities. This one obviously being the biggest user, more insight and control we can have overall.
It's bigger than the fire or the police department now.
Oh, yeah. Oh. So that's the,
So to recenter. There's an analysis that's gonna be done on the circulation that will resolve
It's not the circulation, it's facility needs study.
the potential issues and objection around the HVAC. The HVAC equipment itself is to some extent being in process for replacement for efficiency there. So you've got your HVAC and your lighting. There's a system being evaluated right now for lighting management, and obviously once we have the data for the HVAC management. And then we can take as an action item to evaluate the perverse incentive that's been highlighted around, tenant energy use. Is that an accurate summary?
yeah, the Terracon analysis was pretty broad based, looking at all systems of the buildings, looking at control systems, lighting, HVAC systems. So yeah, I think they want to get that study under their belt so they, have a good understanding of where the needs are. Condition assessment. Give them a baseline for beginning to, plan for those preventive maintenance activities and mechanical system, schedule for whether that's maintenance or replacement, whatever. So yeah, I think once that Terracon study is performed, they'll good reference point for us all. Next, last bullet there under the updates is the energy efficiency and conservation block grant status. Just sent. I can use the acronym in here, but it's good to throw it all out there. I just sent an email last week to our contact, and they still couldn't give a definitive timeline for when that application review is going to be completed. They said they were inundated with applications at the end of the uh,
Submittal period.
submittal period. She mentioned staffing challenges, so, it's, yeah, so it's in the works. You know.
All right,
I
wait.
asked her, it was still, July, August timeframe is what they gave us before. She couldn't say for sure if it was gonna be in August or not, but it's, they don't have any questions yet. It's just working its way through the process, so. On our end, we're continuing to push the RFP through purchasing, and we should be getting it this week from our purchasing department as far as their,
For the fleet transition.
for the fleet transition, so we can hit the ground running once we get that money to spend.
We would take both, hopefully, the grant award to appropriate, take the money and stick it into an account so we can spend it, and a recommendation for who we want to hire for that. fleet.
All at once, yeah, just do it all at once.
So we can't do the second without the first.
Right.
So,
Any questions there? Yeah, so, yeah, we were awarded this grant back in, well, we were awarded the funding, it was a non-competitive grant. Cities, municipalities across the country were given funds based on their size of the organization, and yeah, so we were awarded that one and planning kind of 3 different projects to spend the funds on. City, a fleet transition study is one of them. We have a goal to transition our fleet to EVs by 50% of the fleet by 2035 and 100% by 2050. So
It'll certainly be easy in a couple of years.
yeah, as more models and prices come down and charging infrastructure. So yeah, next on the agenda.
Yeah, move to item number 2. We're gonna review the agenda for Ms. Hardy's visit.
Which, yeah, I know we went through it once already, back in, again, our June meeting. But just wanted to get it in front of everyone again to see if there were, any additional areas that you wanted to discuss with her.
City have any city owned or leased generator assets for backup power?
owned, yes. All of our public safety and operational buildings have generators.
So there was a statement, I don't want to call it a commitment, but a statement made at the CPIRP, which is Carbon Plan Integration Resource Plan, that Duke Energy is in the process of releasing a program that allows for those assets to be utilized for parallel generation, which allows you to basically, on peak periods, start those generators. They would start them remotely, and then they would cut the city a check. There's usage. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, so just, there's no tariff out there yet, but that should be something we should watch to see if, what's the eligibility for the state.
You're gonna have to tell me that acronym one more time.
CPIRP. Carbon Plan Integrated Resource Plan.
Okay.
It was DEC and DEP. I don't remember the docket number off the top of my head, but the order will come out in like 90 days.
Was that an order from the commission?
But it was a statement that was made during the hearing, during cross examination, that they were working on an opportunity. I think they quoted saying there was 2,200 megawatts worth of generation out there, to their knowledge. So there's an opportunity for cash flow for the city.
Did that also cover the expense of whatever would need to be done in terms of the wiring, electrical?
That'll all be covered by the tariff, by the rider. Like, who pays for that? You have to do an interconnection study. I think they use air permits just to figure out how much was out there. Like, just try to canvass the state.
Okay.
So it just, That's something we should ask about. I don't know if that's something of interest of us.
Sure.
Of course, burning diesel.
I was gonna say it's,
Burning diesel, it goes backwards, but it's also reduces the need for them to build additional generation for peak periods. Because obviously wind and solar aren't dispatchable without batteries right now. And so in order to handle that peak load, they're gonna have to go build combined cycles or CTs somewhere in the state,
well, if you can,
or slow down the retirement of coal plants. to
I
deal
mean,
with
we
peak
could
load.
take, if you can do enough load shedding on the peak times and get a big enough check, I mean, the city can invest that money into more EVs.
You
or
can do
more
both.
clean,
You
know.
can do both, right? So DSM, the main side management historically has been, how much load can you reduce? Well, now they're looking at it a little differently, saying how much load could you reduce, or can you add generation to the grid? So. It's always a good test to run those generators too, so,
Yeah,
and we're not talking about running them for, 30 days out of the year, it's like once or twice a year, a couple of hours.
We run ours once a month.
so,
But to a load-
if you're gonna cycle them to test them anyway, might as well get
During
paid to
peak
do it.
periods, really extreme days.
Yeah, think about the winter storm 2 years ago or last year for Christmas when half the state was out of power, or whatever the number was. We had people who could have turned their generators on. We probably would have had more lights on in people's houses. So it's something they're working on, and it was shockingly brought up during cross-examination. I almost jumped out of my chair when I heard them say that. I've been asking for it for a year now.
I would say that we have, it's over 20, it might not be 25 buildings that backup out.
What, like 25K, like 150 kW units.
Our largest would be the police department.
It's probably Mag.
That's our biggest one. We have a contract or a bid right now to replace two generators, one at our headquarters and one at one of the fire stations.
Yeah, but just keep that on your radar. That's something we probably want to
Yeah,
ask
no,
about
thank
and
you.
say, hey, the city would be interested in it. Obviously, we know that it creates carbon, but it's
During peak periods, it's ideal as opposed to the other.
building other fossil generation.
Right, it's a blip on the screen when it comes to the overall, so yeah, I get it.
You have all these losses on the transmission line that happen too, so it's more efficient.
Might be worth kind of having an idea, just, doing a back of the napkin just internally to have an idea of what you have. To have a better idea what your numbers are.
Well,
And if you have parallel generation already in place, is the equipment designed for parallel generation? Police headquarters might.
so is this something we want to bring up to ask Pam about?
That's more of a Wilson thing, I would think. I'd say we would be in support of a tariff that did that. We would be interested in seeing a tariff. California's all over this right now. They have big problems.
Okay.
They're paying big dollars.
Well, Sean, during our call, I know you brought up just offshore wind, just wanting more information about that.
Yeah, so what are you asking me? Sorry.
He fell asleep.
Oh, there's been some bad news recently. Is that what you're asking me to tell?
No, well, would like to hear about that as well, but during our
What would you like to know?
our review, just more about offshore wind and Dukes.
This is really in preparation for our conversation. with
Yeah.
Pam Hart is gonna
Yes.
be here at the next.
So Pam should bring a one pager that shows what their timeline is from now to 2035 or 2038. I'm sorry, 2030, 34 of all their generational assets, which includes offshore wind. So if there's anything you want to know about what their plan is, I mean, it's in there, in their filing, but
If you have more detailed
Yeah.
questions, I can answer whatever you guys need to know. Obviously, I work with, their team as sometimes friends, sometimes competitors. So I'm aware of what all their plans are for offshore wind and what the status is. I had a conversation with Justin LaRoche on it 2 months ago on the planning for where they're at, and was at a conference with, the co-developer, I forget their name,
2000 Energy, the other one?
Total.
yeah, Total Energies, 2 months ago, 2 or 3 months ago, so I can probably insert some questions there if you need.
Sean, what's the bad news?
Well, no, I mean, it was up in New England, just that a blade had broken off and polluted or fiberglass been transported to Nantucket and other beaches in Massachusetts. So it was kind of the bad news about it.
It's not helping. GE is claiming a manufacturing deviation, which bodes the question of the multiple gigawatts that are about to be under construction in the New England area. Where's the QA/QC analysis gonna be on all of the rest of them? Vineyard Wind's now at a stop production, so all those wind turbines are frozen right now. But it's certainly not politically well timed, given, you know, increased cost to North Carolinians of offshore wind compared to all the other resources here, and that the NCUC obviously has to sign off on that as part of the revised generation plan. I wouldn't be surprised if they said put it on the back burner and focus on SMRs and solar, which is what Justin is thinking is going to happen. There's some onshore wind development potential in the Northeast that they may lean on instead of that.
What about additional onshore here in North Carolina? Is there, I mean, you hear about all the offshore lease developments, but is there much, especially in that kind of northeastern quadrant of the state?
Dare County.
He was looking at about 800 megawatts of onshore wind in the far northeastern part of the state, but
Going to PGM.
no, it'll stay here, but it'll probably be sited in that region. But that's early stage planning, and the resource availability of onshore wind in North Carolina is pitiful comparatively. The only real benefit is gonna be the time of day comparative to solar is gonna be beneficial. They need something because we're starting to get to the duck curve, which is only going to get worse with 11 gigawatts of solar planned. So they're gonna need complementary generation, and therefore they're probably gonna pay a little bit more for that.
Who's speaking right now? I'm sorry, I'm not there.
All right. Hi, I'm, for those who don't know, I'm Logan Secord. I'm a director of development for Pine Gate Renewables.
Okay.
So I'm intimately involved with Duke Energy and utility scale renewable sector. So
And you're interested in joining a committee?
yes, and I'm getting more civically engaged. So I found this and thought I would be able to possibly assist for questions like that.
Sorry, that's Sean.
No problem. I heard him. I was like wondering who he was earlier, but all right, cool. Yeah, I mean, I think you could ask some more, just ask questions about timelines and whether they plan to do any surveying offshore. I mean, they're still pretty far behind. Or if they have any interest in purchasing the Kitty Hawk. Well, I mean, she's probably not going to answer that, but you could ask about Kitty Hawk as well.
Kitty Hawk has been sold to Dominion.
Well, there's still the southern portion of the lease that's not sold. It's still, I think, under Avangrid.
Yeah, we just wanna highlight the opportunity that we have, with Duke coming to visit us.
I think the question I would have to kind of tag along with Sean's is, what can the city do to help align
Mhm.
with their offshore wind goals? I mean, Sean was talking about the towers, people, kind of hammering how it's better to be ahead of it on the PR side than playing catch up. So,
Yep.
Yeah, there's
what-
gonna need to be a common strategy for that one.
so hearing what what we can do to assist Duke in getting ahead of that. I mean, I was visiting my parents in Jersey a few months ago, and it's like the anti-wind propaganda is like all over the place there, and they're losing that fight from what I have tell.
What can we do to get in front of that?
Right. I don't particularly want to drive down the street and see the like stop big wind like signs all over the street.
I can give you guys some guidance on what the city will need to do to assist with that, having done quite a bit of this.
Is that like in collaboration with the utility?
Yeah, well, sometimes in collaboration, sometimes not. The community outreach and getting ahead, but the relationships that the city and particularly the Chamber of Commerce will be able to leverage. We'll need to get the port and the fisheries on board. Susan Monroe is the community engagement manager for
Good town.
yeah, no, for good lord, and the other developer besides Duke, who I always forget their name. Total, yes. So she lives 30 minutes south of here and would be a good person to bring in to see how we can assist and make any connections.
Are we aware of any like concerns that have been raised by South Carolina? Because it's really off their shore.
From what I've heard, Charleston's like leaning all in on. it.
Not that far south.
Well, they're from the economic side of it, they're leaning on it, from what I can see.
It's probably the money from the port.
Yeah.
They want to slice that pie to
Yeah.
see what's happening in the
Manufacturing.
in the
this,
harbors,
that.
and they're gonna try and capture it.
I mean, you can see it from Myrtle Beach.
What the Duluth area?
Yeah,
Well, I mean, it's gonna be really small. But you're gonna see it more from there than you're gonna see it from the North Carolina beaches.
Yeah,
Cause you think about like Southport and all those beaches, they face due south. And then these all face almost due east up this coast. And there's gonna be, what's it, 36 miles, 63 miles off of Bulkhead? Start,
Yeah,
30.
Bald Head would probably see it pretty well, but
the start of it, it's gonna go south from there.
Yeah.
30 miles, because 30 miles is the horizon distance that most offshore wind planners go for.
If they could see it, it would
Be
be
nothing.
a
It's minimal.
perfect day. And
That won't stop
It
them
just
from
stop.
complaining. They'll
Yes,
still
that's what I'm
say,
saying, like, I'm surprised South Carolina hasn't weighed in on it, but
some of it has to do with the wind power too, like the farther you move northeast, the stronger the wind power.
one of the complaints I heard at the state energy conference from the guy from Total Energies was about the interconnections all the way in New Bern.
Yeah,
A long haul from 36 miles offshore all the way to New Bern.
yeah.
just,
I think some of the
that a nuclear plant's $100 million extra.
Yeah.
yeah, it increases the cost of your project too when you have long cable.
Does, yeah, everything coming out of Brunswick is 230. They don't have any 500 kV lines.
Any other thoughts on the
I don't.
talking points for Duke? Well, we'll reiterate, Pam, we'll say there's interest, make sure that we have. We don't want to leave Wilson out. She would entertain bringing him along, make sure that message gets over to her.
I was touching base with a connection at Cape Fear Solar, and he mentioned that Duke Energy's Power Pair program is not fully subscribed. Is this group looking at the incentives for that? I mean, speaking personally from my own home, it dropped my solar and battery install from the low 30s to 16,000. So it's a pretty substantial
Power pair is only for residential right now, though, right?
Yeah.
I don't think there is.
currently is, but they're 2.2 megawatts under subscription, so Duke Energy may be able to,
Utilities commission have to approve a change.
might be something worth discussing, because I know the
Yes.
city and the commercial are going to have a lot more incentive for it.
So they did mention in the hearing at the CPIRP about the need to roll something out like that for industrial and commercial operations.
part of the problem with their carbon plan is that the utility scale generation is, sticking to 2029, 2030 timelines for interconnection, which obviously means they're going to miss it by a football field. And so there's gonna be conversations around intermediate generation because they've got the micro generation incentives of power pair and they've got the utility scale. But those commercial, industrial and community solar programs where we're talking, 100 kilowatts to, 5 megawatts are gonna be areas where there's opportunity to start having incentives because a 34.5 kV line or a, building are gonna be where there's low interconnection costs and very quickly able to dispatch.
Is this all around red zones or outside of that?
Most of it's the red zone. I mean, everything's basically waiting for the red zone upgrades. Yes, the red zone upgrades are approved, but everybody's in line waiting for them to be done. And the red zone upgrade 2 is even further behind than that. So most of my projects are sitting, I've got one project that's 27 interconnect. Everything's been pushed out to 29 or 2030 after that.
Well,
I'll work not much time.
So that's all to say. There's desperation leads to opportunity, and that may lead to opening things of conversations of, being able to participate in the power pair program, given there's over 2 megawatts of availability left.
Yeah, it's a good program. Yeah. It's not good for us because residential. Just gotta ask. That is the next phase, is I believe what they said.
we can touch base with the RGA team and see what conversations are happening in the background.
Environmental justice. Well,
Yeah,
that's something else.
move to item number 3.
Yeah, we really just want to put this out to the committee, just FYI, and just, because it does support some of our advocacy goals. It's certainly the opportunity to comment or provide comment on this executive order. It's anyone. But yeah, wanted to certainly put out the information, the links to go to provide input, but
Were we hoping the city put out like a proclamation or some kind of statement like we did last time, or? I mean, if we do, we gotta tie it back to our objective, right, which is
Yeah.
number 6, I
Yeah.
believe. Yeah, action item number 6 from our study. So,
In my mind, this is the pretty cut and dry one for them. I mean, it's in the goals,
if they want to.
and it aligns with Governor Cooper's executive order. It's pretty easy to say, like, we already have this goal. Now he's issuing this goal. It's not really that much of a stretch to say our goal, we support the goal that we already have that he now has. So maybe, at the next, what's the timeline?
The last one's the 24th. September 24th.
29.
Well, there's,
Yes.
No, there's one
There's
on
the in-person.
in person.
so we can submit our comment by then.
I mean, does anyone wanna make a motion to recommend a statement of support from the city?
What's the pros and cons of it? I mean, we already have it in.
I mean, pros is it shows support to
Something
the
that
state legislature, that the community, that, the municipality legislature supports the initiative. Is the pro, and it shows that the city is being active and involved in the decision-making process there.
So there was already an environmental justice advisory council, if I understand correctly, right? So it's just reestablishing something that already exists. Rather than reinventing the wheel.
I don't feel strongly one way or another. I just thought I'd throw it out there.
where's Karen?
I can certainly get her involved in this item.
Yeah, we should ask if it's something that the city wants. I mean, I think I think our recommendation is that if the city feels that it's appropriate, we would support it. So we're not saying that they have to do it. Unless someone feels
If
different.
they're upside, we'll do it. Or support it.
Yeah, I don't know if this is, I don't see any, I can't think of anything that would be bad coming out of something we already have in writing.
Let me, I'll reach out to Kara and ask her to lay her eyes on this and get her feedback. And then we can come back to y'all within a week. No, I don't think we want to wait necessarily
No.
until next meeting.
No.
And the mapping tool that they're developing is pretty interesting. You guys want to take a look at that?
It's available now.
Please do.
I didn't know that. But that was part of it. They were gonna be developing.
I think they're, probably not fully complete,
Under
they're fleshed out,
construction.
but it's,
It's a beta version.
you can explore the interactive map via the link there, so. Yeah, we'll, continue to plan for our meeting next month with Pam. Anything additional comes to any of y'all's minds that you wanna, bring up, just let me know. Be communicating with her to extend an invitation to Wilson, he's our Duke rep for the city.
Do you think it's worth getting maybe a larger meeting room for next time?
I'm definitely going to,
We're not gonna have this repeated.
yeah,
A larger room for the number
I-
of
no,
people.
I-
All
I-
of our committee
no, I-
actually.
oh, no,
Part of that,
but
part of that will be getting.
there's some
Well,
rooms.
I wasn't referring to this.
I know,
That's just nothing more than.
I
a
know,
hiccup.
but we're not gonna repeat this again.
I was just saying size wise,
Yeah.
if our committee members,
We
most of
can
them
get-
attend
we
in
can certainly
person
get
and a
their
few
feedback.
more.
Yeah, there's some rooms downstairs.
I will not be in person next time, but
Okay.
I'll give my.
Yeah, I'm
chair.
gonna try to be there in person, but I do get confused with all these links. Thanks PJ for helping me out twice. But
Well, it's confusing for
it's
us.
weird. It's like in the agenda, there's one link which isn't right. Then I don't know, maybe I accepted a meeting another time and that's not right. But then, yeah. So I mean, maybe on the agenda, just make sure on that PDF it's the right link.
It's
Or-
more confusing for us, Sean, because we do our planning meeting on Teams. So
Yeah.
everyone else can just remember, just follow the Zoom link, but for
do
us,
the
it's
Zoom
1 week
link,
on
yeah.
Teams and 1 week on Zoom.
Right, but the meeting request that's. on
Is
our
sent
calendar,
for-
it says Teams.
Yeah.
So it's just
Yeah.
compared to.
Oh, yeah, for the. Gotcha.
So you just need to clean it up on.
It automatically adds that. when you-
Teams will record one.
Yeah, but there's a link.
We'll
On
figure
the-
it out like that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I get what y'all are saying. Have to make sure that just delete that Teams link from there.
It's Lindsay did it one time, I did it one time,
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm in the meeting, where is everybody? That's what it was.
I know, and
Apologies.
today when you were saying you're having problems, I'm like, so am I on the right meeting or not yet?
Yeah, again, apologies for the technical difficulties today. So.
Unless there's any other topics for discussion, we'll go ahead and adjourn.
Good.
All right, meeting's adjourned.
See you,
Thanks,
Sean.
Sean.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yes.